So with our lovely Miss S again, I wanted to show you guys how to start practicing a little bit with some pattern games. So right now I'm just gonna, while I'm blabbing, do a couple find it, so not one of the patterns. Pattern games from Control Unleashed, which is a wonderful book series, but also has great DVDs, and there are some Control Unleashed programs out there. It is one of my things that I'm hoping to eventually become a Control Unleashed instructor, again, down the road. But for right now, I wanted to show, ready? Sadie. Nice little name recognition right there, beautiful. So pattern games are immensely beneficial for pups that sometimes become overwhelmed, overexcited, or have big emotions but aren't sure how to come back from them. So the benefit of patterns is they stay consistent even though the environment may not. And it helps to create some stability for babes that have a hard time with novelty or change. These pattern games can be used for any dog, so it doesn't have to be a dog that is, for example, overexcited or overwhelmed. They make wonderful patterns for even puppies, working through impulse control and building up focus and also building up some calm. So the benefit of pattern games, for example, is this is going to be the up-down game. So the up-down game consists of every time the pup gives you eye contact, you're going to then feed the ground, which is why it's called up-down. So Miss S says, I'm very interested in my little human over there. Ready? Sadie. So to start off the game, I just go ahead and let's say, for example, the puppy's already honed in on me or whatever. I'm just going to start off by putting the food right on the floor. So in the beginning, we're just going to go ahead and feed for every time the lady gives me some eyes. So if, let's say, in the beginning, you're starting off and she's not really sure, give her the chance to kind of figure it out right there. Yes. So I go ahead and with the up-down game, you're practicing with the pup right in front of you. You don't have to have a target. Yes, but it can be helpful for you and for the babe for visual sake and also for placement. So right now I have the food behind my back. Yes, because I want my dog to not hone in on my hand or my treat pouch. So I put the snack behind my back. Yes. The moment Miss Lovely hones in on my eyes, she's being fed for giving me those eyeballs. So right there, yes. So the benefit of this game is that you eventually would transition these patterns, yes, to harder or more challenging environments or with more challenging or harder distractions. So in the beginning, yes, this starts to create this ability for your babe to start honing in on you from those challenging, yes, environments. So the up-down game, so we're going to be like, again, finished. And we're just going to get it up and wiggling away from the bubble. So you will want to go ahead and sometimes practice this, of course, in and around the home where it's easiest. So you and her can start figuring out your dance moves before you do need it out in the real world. So the real world, for example, could be, ready, Sadie? Could be, let's say, your yard or side yard or front yard, depending on the difficulty of those environments. For right now, anywhere that she is struggling would be a place where I recommend to take a breather from it for now. Because remember, puppies grow into behavior, not out of behavior. So a lot of times if Miss S is able to follow certain skills and practice them outdoors or in different bubbles, those might be the behaviors, oh, I dropped one, find it. Those might be the behaviors your puppy gets really good at. So remember, with the up-down game, I'm gonna just start it off by putting a piece of food on the target in front of me. The moment Miss S were to check in with me, I'd feed her for that. If, let's say, I lose her, I might go ahead and wait for that little moment. So right there, she honed in on my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and feed her for that little moment there. So the up-down game typically would happen in front of you, but eventually, yes, it can happen. Also, for example, when you're up and moving and you use, for example, the Super Bowls game might be another great one. So right there, yes, and we're feeding for that. So the benefit of the up-down again is it gets your puppy to reorient to you from a challenging environment later down the road. Yes. But it starts to create focus on you from distractions. So sorry, I think the pollen is getting to me today. So even though it's a little bit mushy outside, yes. So right now, I know a lot of times we're like, how would doing up, down, or how would doing some of these skills benefit my puppy? Remember that for a lot of dogs, when they're feeling overwhelmed, working on focus work is really hard for them. So we're trying to make it through a consistent game that this becomes a little easier for her. So let's say up, down is going really well. The next option, what's called ping pong. So this one would be the mat in front of you if you are using targets. The mat in the middle would be the one just for you for placement. You would go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and feed the mat to my side. The moment my dog checks in with me again, and I don't mind if she comes around the corner and does a little check-in right here, I'm going to go yes and feed right next to my side. So what I'm looking for her to do is, again, she's a little distracted. So we'll try and get Miss S's attention. Ready, Sadie? So I'm just going to do a little name recognition just to help her bounce back. So if, let's say, I start to lose her, I'm going to help her with skills she already knows. So right here, she gives me eyes. I'm going to go yes. So the ping pong game consists of your puppy honing in on you and then feeding to the left or the right as your puppy gets more fluid. This could also equal movement versus being right next to you. Sadie. So right here, she's a little distracted. If she's a little lost, I might go closer to her versus pulling or yanking her away from something. So right here, she gives me eyes. I'm going to go yes and feed to the left or the right. So you can ping pong between the two. And Miss S says, I'm already pooped out. So if I lose her again, I'm just going to reset her up in front of me. So remember, training won't be perfect. Remember that a lot of times while she's learning a new dance move and so are you. So right here, I'm waiting for those eyes. Yes, and I feed for right next to the side of me. So again, waiting for those eyeballs to hit me once more. And then we'll see if we can go ahead and do another moment. If again, she says, hold on, I got to burp. If I lose her to the environment, I might go ahead and create distance. So a lot of times, even though I might be trying to work a certain pattern, remember this is our very first day in doggy day school. So a lot of times, ready, Sadie? We may also sometimes have to go back to simpler versions or lower the criteria when your babe is saying, you know what, I'm having a hard time or I'm not too sure what we're working on. So right here, I go, Sadie, yes, and then feed for that lovely name recognition. So don't worry, if she doesn't quite catch on with some of the patterns her very first day, we're going to keep honing in on a lot of these lovely skills. Remember too, that I will, again, email out some of these, lovely pattern games to everybody. But these were some of the skills or documents I'd sent along previously for like the puppy kindergarten class as well. So again, they're not novel concepts. They may not have been viewed as of yet because you may have not been able to have the chance or thought the interest was there for some of these pattern games. So right here, I'm going to go yes and feed right there. And again, I'm waiting for that lovely little moment where she checks in again with those eyeballs. When she reorients to me, I would then practice plopping the snack over to the side again. She's very interested in my little. Ready? Sadie. So if she's a little distracted, ready? Nice, right there. So if I'm not getting the pattern game for right now, we'll go ahead and we'll try a couple other little skills. But if you would like to try honing in on some of these while she's at home, it's called the up-down game. Ready, Sadie? And the ping pong game. So if, let's say, I lose her to the environment, I'm going to go right to her little sniffer and create some movement. So a lot of times too, if your babe is ever struggling with a visual or an audible distraction, when in doubt, keep them wiggling. You will at times also feed for behavior you'd rather have them think there's value in participating in. So if, let's say, engagement works well to redirect her, awesome. But if, let's say, she's not as fluid, practicing a little bit of moving into your space with a front position may be another great option for creating movement away from something and then re-honing in on you. So don't worry again if she doesn't hone in so well on the very beginning stages of the pattern games, the up-down game and the ping pong game. We'll work on them some more as she participates in the next couple sessions. So right now, if, let's say, my babe does tend to get a little distracted, yes, I would want to start practicing this ability for her to reorient back to me from the distraction. So even though my little is not a very scary or a very challenging distraction, it's still enough for her to get a little bit lost. We also have the rain downpouring now, so we do have the noise coming off the roof. For some of the babes, all these different novel situations, so brand new environment, working with me versus you guys. She says, oh, distraction. So right here, Sadie, ready? Right there, yes. So great little moment where she got a little distracted as my little got up. She was a little bit unsure and got a little excited. Ready? So we'll keep her moving. So Sadie, ready? Good job. So Remember that if your girl is really good at honing in on certain skills and those become her favorite dance moves in the beginning, definitely rock those to your advantage. So if let's say she prefers doing some really nice little front behaviors, try to make those into some of the practice moves you do throughout the week. Remember though, if let's say approaching and then every time you approach something new, it's too hard for her, and then you use, for example, your U-turn or your front behavior, your babe might start to, like I mentioned earlier, start to view that as the bringer of the bad or the bringer of the excitement, where she gets a little bit lost. So right now, as we might approach the distraction, I might go, ready, Sadie? Yes. And bring her into my little space and feed her for that engagement. Because a lot of times, if your puppies don't know how to work the skills prior to needing them, asking them to do them in the moment is not going to be successful for you or for them. Nice. Great job, Miss S. So, two, for our lovely lady, working with some of these fronts. If fronts are very challenging in the beginning, I sometimes like to start off with my puppy sometimes off of gear, like in the home where they feel most comfortable. You could, again, have gear on. So let's say she's in the yard, but it's not really fenced in, or she's maybe gets easily distracted. Oh, dropped a crumb. Those would be moments where using your gear for training wheels to be very helpful. So, to me, for the front, I sometimes start off with my puppy already in front of me, and I'm just going to get her in the habit of moving into my space and then feed for that. And again, front and feed for that. So I sometimes have several snacks on both sides, so I'm trying to keep her more, again, lined up with me. So let's say I'm walking again, and now by my side, I could then bring her into my front. Yes. And feed for these lovely moments where Miss S is going into my space and working a front position. So if for right now, working fronts in front of you is easier, great way to start. As she gets into the groove though, you could go ahead and go from being by your side and then bring her into the front position in front of you and then feed for that lovely moment. So that way you can kind of build in these skills. Yes, Ebba, my love. Ready? Nice job. Find it. What is a hippo? Sure, I can come help you. Ebba wants me to open up her slime container so she can play for a little bit. So for our little lady, we'll take a little break from some of the pattern games, ready? And from these lovely little front behaviors. But remember, if there's anything she's really having a hard time with, try to rehearse them in situations where she's well under threshold. So like we were doing a little bit and mentioning in class. So that way she has the chance to really sort of refine this skill a little bit more and get it under her belt before really needing it in the real world setup. But we'll give our little Miss S a little break, and then we'll go into working a few more skills in just a second. So here we go, cuteness. We'll do a little find it. Nice.